My name is Bertha Lewis, and I am the founder and president of the Black Institute. The Black Institute is a New York City-based racial justice action tank dedicated to research and advocacy that leads to racial equality and fairness. I appreciate the opportunity to comment on the environmental assessment of the CBD and their tolling program because there's a lot to say. The fact is that the congestion pricing plan is none of the things that we stand for, nor what communities of color actually need. It is not fair, it does no justice to our communities, and in fact, will only lead to further racial inequality in New York City and the metropolitan area. This environmental assessment has grossly and inexcusably misread the environment that any of the proposed tolling scenarios would affect. It will do significant economic harm to New York's most vulnerable and numerous communities. People of color living in the outer boroughs and above the 60th Street boundary. The EA has failed to do any more than the bare minimum to address potential justice concerns. And this is the fine print that will ruin our communities. New York is a majority minority city, a city that runs because of an underpaid workforce comprised largely of immigrants and people of color. New York would not run without them and pays them next to nothing to do so. We need every dollar to survive. We live paycheck to paycheck. And yet this EA suggests that all they would get is a tax break. What about the for hire drivers of the city who are, surprised, by and large immigrants and people of color? You would take their money, kill their jobs, thousands of them, and for what? Buying new buses and fixing our city's decaying public transit system is noble, but why are we taxing our poor citizens to do so? There are so many flaws in this EA and the proposed tolling scenarios to highlight, but I don't have the time. So I'd like to use my remaining time to completely and totally denounce both this EA and these hearings, which are exclusionary and rushed. The MTA has disenfranchised communities of color who are most impacted by making these hearings virtual and holding them all at once, only a few weeks after the EA's release. It is crystal clear that unlike its operations, the MTA's desperation to push this half-baked plan through is not to serve this community. Rather, it is to deny our communities, people of color, the right to oppose these inane plans for the MTA's own self-interest. Therefore, I demand that the MTA publicly retract this EA and investigate the economic impacts of people of color. Thank you.